All right, welcome back to another episode. Today, we have the pleasure of having Ben Jorgensen, who's the CEO and founder of Constellation, or DAG, as you might know it. Appreciate you for joining us, Ben.
Thanks, Jake. It's a pleasure, man. It's been a minute since I saw. What? It's only been like a month since I saw it, or like a month and a half since I saw you in San Francisco.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we were out that way. Well, it's been a little longer than that. I think it was toward the end of last year.
Oh,
Time
2 months.
flies, man. Um,
Oh, was it? Was it towards the end of last year? I thought it was like around Super Bowl
I
time.
mean, it
No, I
doesn't
think
seem
it
that long
was,
ago.
wasn't it? No.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, back then you were kind of hush hush about this acquisition and some of the stuff that you
Yeah.
were going through. How
Yeah.
or further can we talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I'll give it a little bit of context where I'll give you the kind of present day where we are. We're being acquired by an entity that came out of Dallas, actually, your hometown,
Mhm.
out of the brainchild of John Rochon, Richmond family office. It's a single family office. They primarily focus on, over his career, he did about 350 different M&A deals,
Wow.
several multi-billion dollar exits that he did, some leverage buyouts in the tens of millions of dollars and flipped them into multi-billion dollar returns. And so where we are, the entity is called AI Holdings, or AI Squared, as we call it. And we're in the process of filing with the SEC. So we filed our public S1 about 3 months ago. It was like right after the New Year's. We filed our private S1 back in November. So the process has been very, very interesting. And so our commitment to them, when we started engaging with them almost a year ago, was that we'll be acquired by you. But so we had to go through an acquisition, and then the acquisition was contingent on them taking their holding company public.
Public.
So not only did we go, if anybody's gone through an acquisition, it takes months to go through just an acquisition, all the due diligence, going through a data room. But then, because we were going to be one of the operating companies and a subsidiary to the holding company, this meant that we had to go through an audit level that was compliant to the SEC. So,
Yeah.
you could say over the last year, I think I went through a crash course on M&A activity, and all the way to the premier pinnacle of going public, and what that type of scrutiny looks like, and what it's like to engage with the SEC, and how they turn comments back, and how they make amendments to the filing, and then they push it back. It's been a very, very fascinating opportunity. And when we got started on this journey a little over a year ago, we had spent about 7 months taking Constellation into a product-oriented company. So blockchain to me has never really been a product-oriented business. It's more been like ecosystem, developer growth, open source growth that would have utility of a token based off of how many people were building. But Constellation's always had this hybrid story, which has always made us hard to compartmentalize us. We've always taken an approach of, let's have some open source tooling, but let's go after SMBs and enterprise. Because there's a chain of how do we get this adoption without isolating ourselves to open source technology and trends, but could leave us open to an evolution of where technology could go. And if you look back at early Constellation stuff, all of our documentation was around putting data on chain, what this would open up for artificial intelligence, right? So we always had this mindset that there was more out there than just, oh, we have to be an isolated framework like so many other crypto ecosystem that force you into a framework. You can only use their tech stack. And it created this like tribalism that didn't really vibrate with who I am. But at the same time, not everybody vibrated with me because I had this hybrid approach that was like, well, he's kind of a capitalist and libertarian and a pure liberal on one side. And so, anyways, long story short, we got started on this journey when I met John Rochon and his team, and I knew instantly that this was an energy of where we should go in terms of growth of the vision of Constellation. It meant more partners. It meant more access to capital. It meant kind of seeing the journey that we always wanted to see through fit. And why was that? Because John's pitch to me was all about diversification. How do we go into defense tech? How do we go into traditional industries like oil and gas? How do we go into healthcare? You name it. And I was like, wow, this guy shares my same belief system. And so that really kind of made me think about what is the future of Constellation? How do I safeguard this and give energy behind what we had? It's better to be in a pool of more people than to be closed off and isolated, in my opinion. And so we started going through this merger. It's now been almost 11 months, and I've aged probably 11 years. Each month is probably a year. And it's been a very fascinating, exciting story that's going to propel Constellation to be very defensible in the future. It's primed for growth. If you look at the S1, the value of the company, we valued it at 170 million. And with that, it's all kind of the valuations built on a range of different things that we agreed with the AI squared group. But this also not only just gets us acquired, where a lot of people think of acquisitions, it's just like, hey, they're going to acquire, they're just going to cut off everything. Right. This is actually more like a Berkshire Hathaway model, where Berkshire Hathaway, they've got like entities like Geico, NetJets, all these things, and they all have their own CEOs that report up to them. And so in the contingency of the deal is that they would, give us $25 million in growth capital that we would see fit to grow out our different product and revenue streams, as well as maintain the network, which they love our decentralized network. They love the nature of it. They love our mindset on how we think different in that context. And so it's been a really exciting story for us that, we're looking to go public here pretty soon, and we'll be one of the first public blockchains out there for people to discover and be attached to a bigger story.
Well, so, like you're talking about, I see the Waltons do this in their family office. Okay. So
sure.
You can imagine the reach that they have, right? With Walmart, all of their vendors and all the ecosystem that they've had to build around that in order to facilitate their business at scale.
Yeah.
They will oftentimes do venture deals or invest in early stage startups or acquire a company that they can then use that software or that infrastructure across all of the other ecosystem players that they have. And you can imagine how much greater the value of that company becomes just because now that they have inroads to all of those different venues that they didn't even have access to before. So I see the same thing. Yeah, I see the same thing for you guys, right? Like being a metadata oracle and having a data set that you could, move on chain, zero knowledge proof, be able to share, the different components of that data with different providers to be able to do insurance or, pharmaceuticals, healthcare. There's all these different applications for the data set, and then not sharing the actual underlying data itself, but the metadata above that. I think you guys are super well positioned to, like you said, be diversified across a bunch of different applications.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I have a lot of gratitude for the journey that we're on, and why we're in this position. I've had so many self-reflections. I mean, this has been one of the hardest things to ever go through in my entire life, and I was not educated to do this. I don't have a background in doing M&A, but I firmly believe that now, after going through it, that anybody can learn these skill sets if they're ready for it, right? And like you said, with the AI squared story, it is about acquiring traditional healthy businesses and retrofitting them to prepare for the future, right? And so even going through this merger, what we did at Constellation is we had like a pens down moment or pencils down moment. Like, stop what you're doing. Let's be inspired by what we're going through to also set precedent on the process for other companies. So what does it look like if a construction company or an oil and gas or a bank or a healthcare company comes into? Let's put that product headset on. You go to another crypto ecosystem, there's no customer support. You got a community that's got an opinion and they've done some stuff. But when you have people that are myopically focused on a product and empathizing with a customer, then you understand their problems and needs, which are very different. And then you try and create software that is compatible across different industries. But you have to do that with a customer mindset. And so with the AI squared story, their whole goal is to apply proprietary AI, they call psychosymmetric AI, across all their entities to make them more productive, unlock more value, and equip them for growth. And so we took that same mindset at Constellation. We're like, okay, we've got to get out of our own blockchain bubble and prepare for what the future is. And so we're doing some interesting things from an operational standpoint on restructuring ourselves, the Octopus organization, right? It's a fascinating Harvard Business Review article that came out sometime in October of last year that talks about what entities of the future look like and how you unlock value by elevating individuals to be their own entrepreneur, and then running an entity with these kind of tentacles of businesses around the core organization. The Japanese call this a keiretsu. That's like a Mitsubishi is a keiretsu. So Mitsubishi has a banking arm, a defense arm, consumer arm, 7-Elevens, or maybe not 7-Eleven. Well, no, I think they are owned by a keiretsu, different keiretsu, but kind of a similar structure. And so Constellation took that on, and it really opened our eyes to what the future can be because of the energy of something like an acquisition, where you're like, oh, okay, we know where our story is going. Let's fill the gap. We started taking blockchain very early on and applying it to AI. And one of the major things that was eye-opening for all of us is to see that blockchain is a capability, and because of its technical complexity, it needs to fit under the stack. So blockchain is infrastructure that's going to us, like the narrative was, blockchain is infrastructure that's going to power auditability and governance of AI going forward, that trust layer. And so we're building out, not only have we figured out the structure of how we operate, but we're also, building fast new platforms that converge AI and blockchain. And those things are coming out in like the next several weeks right now. So it's been an inspirational moment for us, as well as a way to just unlock and build.
That's incredible, dude. Yeah, the convergence of all these technologies is going to be wild for people to experience. And like you talked about, you look at blockchain or acyclic graph or hash graph or any of these, infrastructures like you're talking about, they're a distributed database is really what they are at the end of the day.
100%.
Right? And it is just a transparent transactional layer where you can segment or hold data in an encrypted way to be able to make sure that it's verified. And then if you layer things on top of that, like you're talking about with AI, like at scale, a human can only sort through so much data per day, right? And then you can make some decisions, but an AI could comb an entire database much faster and make much better decisions probably. And so pairing these two things together, I think that there's going to be a ton of different applications. Have you seen T54 and what they're doing for like AI agent identity?
No, I have, but I've heard a lot on the agent identity side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got a deal called X402. And
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
that's the protocol that's on-chain verification for
Bot to
the
bot
agent's
payments.
transactions. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think that that's again, like when I was at Swell a couple years ago, Ripple talked about, custody and identity. Like those are the base layers of like what they were going to need in order for like the sexy financial products to even scale on top of. I think we're kind of in that inning for AI right now. Like we have to have the identity layer for these agents. We have to know what the legalities of them operating are. But we also have to have this base infrastructure of blockchain in place across all these different industries so that you could really scale AI on top of that to get the productivity out of it that everybody is hopeful for, right?
Right. Oh, I think that's the next evolution, right? We're overwhelmed on the AI side. We're overwhelmed with all these tools that come out and trying to keep up with that. Like we never had that moment in blockchain, and that's okay. But everybody's trying to put one into the other bucket when I think blockchain serves. It'll serve a massive purpose over the next year and a half. By providing kind of the governance on what all these tools are doing. And it was really interesting. We conducted a customer survey across like 3 CEOs that use OpenClaw pretty religiously. And of those people, they 2 out of the 3 won't even let their company use it because of security and auditability vulnerabilities, right? So we're seeing this direct to right, exactly. So what is the blockchain solution looking like? That really inspired us to think through, okay, what is this space going to look like in about a year? What are the essentials that people need? Just adding auditability may or may not be enough, but having a whole vision, which is where Constellation, under working with AI Squared, was able to kind of expand that vision in a way that we probably wouldn't have been able to do if we were just writing this story alone. So there's a lot coming down the way, which I do worry a little bit about, kind of the AI bubble popping, but I don't think it's going to pop the way that blockchain and crypto popped, which was like, why do we need this? Like, oh, we know we need all this, but the pop is going to be like, how much resources do we have to maintain these data centers? Where is the accountability? How do we, everybody knows that we need it. How do we use it and make sure, it's auditable from, from like a compliance standpoint too?
You think that there'll be like AI police officers for the other AI?
100%. It's already happening. Yeah. There's, like when you look at AI agent swarm orchestration, where agents are checking the work of other agents and then they're modifying the work, and all of that goes through like decision. We call it a decision ledger internally, but that's very like blockchain AI. Yeah. But it's making decisions, and how are you getting there, and who's checking the work? The same thing's going to happen. Right. The X402 framework that you talked about, we've already implemented it into our product, digital evidence, where now people can use digital evidence and automate payments using the X402 standard. And little things like that, we're making evolutions, but there's a big picture in store on how we're converging the two. And I think it's one of the strongest stories we've ever had at Constellation that I'm excited to like share soon. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to be the channel that you share that on when that happens.
For sure. For sure.
So, we take this a lot of different directions, but I talk a lot about the macro, right? Yeah. And what I think is going to play out. And I've talked about, the deflationary pressure of how aggressively this technology is going to move. And like, if you knew that was coming, you would probably front run that with a lot of M2 money supply and cause massive inflation so that a deflationary depression didn't happen. But I think we're on the precipice of that. There's going to be a lot of liquidity that gets sucked out in the near future with the reverse carry trade and some other, global geographic macro things that are going on. But what's your take on that? Like, how fast do things move from here with all of these things converging? That's
a good question, because then you need to start calculating quantum into all this too,
Right.
which is really like it's happening right now. My take on the whole macro narrative is it's a tough one, but I believe that if you're in technology, you have to have a diversification strategy. And just like you would as an investor, like you guys do at Digital Session, it's if you're not taking a diversification strategy, which I've been doing at Constellation for years, back to like our first acquisition, we bought a company that didn't really hit down the middle for us, but for me, what I liked, it was a different team, it was a different thought process, and it allowed us to kind of test new waters while also having a dependable revenue channel. We've also gone into government, and when government slows down, you kind of switch between the two and you kind of ebb and flow through this. So what's going on right now, I don't think anybody can predict. I mean, you're talking about the way capital moves, and you could easily say, like, how do you play the ebbs and flows of the markets? I mean, I've seen people kind of assess if the market goes up, just start shorting, and there's just like weird events going on that I don't know if that's like mentally healthy to keep doing that. But what you can do to protect yourself, because none of us have the time to make all these predictions, is just think of diversification strategies, right?